This is insane. King Charles is now going to war. So is Queen Camilla. Going to war with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, sending out, Buckingham Palace is actually sending out their shitty attack dogs like Amanda Platel at the Daily Mail to go for Catherine and to a lesser extent Prince William. And it's all down to jealousy. Total jealousy of how they have mishandled the Harry and Meghan situation. But it has been sparked by this magazine cover. Let me show you it. The headline was Arise Queen Kate, the Times magazine over the weekend. And yes, it was a very positive profile piece of Catherine. But this woman deserves it. She deserves it. Look at how spectacular she has returned to the scene after a cancer battle when lots of people, by the way, including biographers like Robert Jobson, very close to King Charles, were predicting that Catherine would never return as a full-time working royal. Well, I'm now starting to think that that's what Charles and Camilla and Buckingham Palace wanted. Because not only are they threatened by Prince William at the moment and his very clear demands to modernise the royal family, they are being threatened by Catherine. And it doesn't make any sense. And I know people are going to think, oh, you're being tough on Charles, and I am. Because you messed up the Harry situation, you messed up the Andrew situation, and now you're treating Catherine as a threat? No, she's an asset. She's your biggest asset. You should be adoring her, not sending out your attack dogs against her. Now, there's been quite a lot of detail revealed about this from the brilliant Tom Sykes, regular here on Outspoken, also the man behind the Royalist Substack. Look at this headline. It's unbelievable. Queen Kate angers jealous Charles. A glossy Times profile hailing Catherine as queen has sharpened royal rivalries and highlighted an awkward reality for the palace. Kate now outshines Camilla by a country mile. Now look, and I would say this to Tom, it's not Kate. The Times got it wrong. The Mail got it wrong. It's Catherine. Come on, it's going to be Queen Catherine. Let's use her real name. We're going to get loads of reaction from P. Diner on this in just one moment. But first, let me take you through this new reporting from Tom Sykes because he's really summed up what's truly going on here. A profile of the Princess of Wales in the London Times, emblazoned with the caption, Arise Queen Kate, has aggravated tensions between Charles and Camilla and the Waleses, sources have told The Royalist. The King and his team were irritated by the bad taste headline on the front of a Saturday Times magazine supplement published last weekend, a former palace staffer told The Royalist. The cover landed as recent polling showed Queen Camilla remains stubbornly unpopular, while Catherine is touching highs previously only ever enjoyed by the late Queen Elizabeth II. So this is astonishing, right? And then Tom points something out, which I've always pointed out. I've always been, even when I was in the mainstream media, one of the only people prepared to be honest about Camilla's lack of popularity. And he writes, although the British media have tended to repeat a palace line, that Camilla has won over the British people through her no-nonsense style and alleged tireless work ethic, the truth is that Camilla, 35% approval, is almost as unpopular as Prince Harry, 34% in the United Kingdom. That's according to the latest YouGov survey. And that is true. And here's why. And again, some of you won't like to hear this, but it's because royal watchers like myself will unfortunately never completely forgive Camilla and Charles for the way that they destroyed Princess Diana. I've tried, and I do like the woman, right? But, you know, there's a reason why people appreciate Catherine's steadfast loyalty to her husband, and that's something that unfortunately neither the king or the queen showed. It's tough, of course it's tough, but that is why, and remember at the time it was difficult for me because I was in the mainstream media, but I did write columns in the Daily Mail, took a lot of flack, a lot of criticism, and at The Sun, suggesting that it was wrong for Camilla to be regarded as queen consort because we were led up a garden path for a long time by Charles. Anyway, Tom Sykes goes on. Although both Charles and Camilla understand that William and Catherine were not responsible for the headline in the Times, they have come to the inescapable conclusion that the couple and their team are now actively positioning themselves as monarchs in waiting, as opposed to patient and dutiful heirs, a friend of the king's told The Royalist. William has made no secret to friends and allies of his impatience and frustration with his father's failure to modernise and his weak approach to the twin problems of Andrew and Harry. One friend reiterated to me this week that William believes that Charles was woefully slow to sever ties with Andrew, and now believes his father is making the same mistake with Harry and allowing his heart to rule his head. And of course that is the case. I have been reporting this for a long, long time. And again, lots of you don't like it. But William doesn't think his father has done the right thing when it comes to Harry. William thinks he should have been much harsher and quicker on Andrew too. And Tom Sykes goes on, and again, I agree with this. William believes that Harry has clearly violated the terms of the Sandringham Summit, at which the terms of his and Meghan's exit from the royal family were negotiated, and should be punished by having his titles fully removed, in the same way that Andrew has. William is also keen to see Archie and Lily return to the status of private, non-titled individuals so a mess is not left for the next generation. Of course. Charles remains hopeful that Harry, William, and he can be reconciled. However, William, who blames his brother for worsening stress on his wife and believes stress may have contributed to his wife's cancer, has made it clear that he has no interest in pursuing that plan. Now, I just want to take a moment with that because it's hugely significant. Again, I have reported this in the past, but Tom Sykes is one of the best in the business, and the backup from him on this is huge. I just want to repeat this line because it's so significant. William, who blames his brother for worsening stress on his wife and believes stress may have contributed to his wife's cancer. You don't forgive that. And you should never forgive that. And that's something that I reported here right at the launch of Outspoken, actually, with Lady Victoria Hart. From Tom Sykes now, who reports that the line in the Times cover story which made this clear was when the author Kate Mancy quoted a source saying it's hardly surprising that William and Kate would rather focus on raising their own family, and saying that Catherine believes life's far too short to get hung up on Harry. Interestingly, a story that was sympathetic to the King in the Mail this week said that Charles only agreed to meet Harry in September last year because he feared Harry would weaponise refusal to meet. The story went on to downplay any suggestion that the King would reconcile with Harry without an apology first. But Tom Sykes has the correct interpretation of why that happened, explaining this is a transparent attempt by the King's office to try and reposition their principal. In fact, to steal the clothes of the strong and decisive William. This is not convincing, but it is understandable in the wake of public anger at what many saw as the King humiliating himself by making overtures towards Harry with that meeting in September. There is no shortage of unsavory evidence to support my consistent reporting, which you won't read anywhere else, that Charles is in fact deeply jealous of his son and his wife. So he's not saying he's jealous of Camilla, he's saying he's jealous of William and William's wife, Catherine. Charles jealous of Catherine, this is ludicrous. And Tom Sykes does point out that there was this story in Harry's autobiography Spare about his father's jealousy when he wrote Pa and Camilla didn't like Willie or Kate, drawing attention away from their causes and openly scolded them about it. He then tells a remarkable story where Catherine is forbidden from posing with their tennis racket when visiting a community tennis club because such a winning, fetching photo would undoubtedly wipe Pa and Camilla off the front pages, and that in the end couldn't be tolerated. Tom Sykes surmises, well, now they have little choice but to tolerate it, as William and Catherine's popularity is coming close to rivaling the heady peaks enjoyed by the late Queen Elizabeth II. Catherine has been through many different hells in the past 20 years and has emerged admired and adored. The truth is that, as that headline in the Times made way too clear for Charles's liking, Catherine is queen in most people's hearts already. So, royal YouTube sensation P. Diner, a huge amount to go at there. But turning on Catherine, and I'm going to prove in just a moment, by the way, how Buckingham Palace is now turning on Catherine again. Come on, that's not right. It's not right.
It really isn't. And don't you want that the others in the family do well so that as an institution it's successful and going well with the people, the public? I just don't understand this jealousy. And King Charles had the same issue with Diana. And I don't understand that because I feel like, you are a team. You are supposed to come together to have this one mission and thought of the work of the palace, and everyone should do well. It shouldn't be a competition with inside the team. That doesn't make sense. So I think the king is just doing what he's always done, even with Diana. And it really did not go well when he did it with against Diana, and it won't go well doing it against Catherine because Catherine is loved by the people, and you would want that, right? And Camilla is just who she is, considering what has happened as the past mistress. Sorry, but that's what it was. But we like her now, so you can't take away what has happened, and you can't scold for doing well. It's like you're wanting to create problems and not really move forward and get along. It makes no sense to have this jealousy against people that are doing well. And I think Catherine, in her very stoic way of moving forward, she will just let it, fall off her shoulders and keep doing a great job. And that's why we love her, because it doesn't phase her, because she is the future queen, and she's going to keep doing what she does very well. So the king needs to just focus on his health and the few years, or I don't know, year remaining of his on the throne, because it just doesn't make sense to do this to the people that are making you essentially look good, if you think about it, right? They're making you
Totally.
look good. I mean,
But they want
look at what
Catherine
Harry and
to
Meghan are
look
doing.
bad. They want
Yeah.
Catherine to look bad. And I'll tell you how I know this, P. Dina. And I've been on this. I've been on this for months. And this is where I guess I'm a bit of a poacher turned gamekeeper, because I was a columnist at the Daily Mail. I know how it works. And my old boss at the Daily Mail is a guy called Tobin Andre, who is now one of the main courtiers for King Charles, communications secretary for King Charles. And he has a lot of control over his former newspaper, the Daily Mail. And he sends out the Wicked Witches of the Daily Mail when he chooses. And the latest is Amanda Platel, who issued a missive after that cover piece. I believe this was something that came directly from Buckingham Palace. But look at the headline there. Be careful, Kate. You don't realise it, but your inner circle may have inadvertently stabbed you in the back. What? What? Amanda Patel, you have absolutely no problem when Charles is on the cover of whatever he wants to be. And the Times would have been wanting to do this cover piece, regardless, P. Dino, and then you either have a choice of do you sort of work with them or not. And absolutely they would have had nothing to do with the headline. But anyway, she goes on, and I believe this is something that has absolutely been concocted by Buckingham Palace to write. This is Amanda Patel. My point is that a good number of friends and acquaintances, some named, others anonymous, do talk about Kate in the article. It's Catherine, by the way. There you go. And given all this emphasis on her as our future queen, I don't think they should have. One source goes so far as to compare William and Kate to dear old David and Victoria Beckham in the way they appreciate their own brand. While it may seem a ridiculous comparison, they say, I think the public can spot a genuine relationship and a genuinely strong marriage, and two people who fit well together, how strong they are individually, but also as a couple, and I think that's a great asset. A strong marriage is undoubtedly important to the royals, but do we really want to cheapen our future king and queen by likening them to the Beckhams? Is it really how William and Kate want to be perceived in this unforgiving social media world? Another insider says Kate understands the crowns and gowns element of the job, with the implication that it is a duty to show up looking gorgeous in carefully crafted couture outfits worth thousands and wearing tiaras worth millions from the royal collection. I do not believe for one second Kate's friends thought they were doing anything but supporting her and sharing their views, but it all seems a little premature and, dare I say, tacky. P. Dinah, I'm sorry, this is a desperate attack. This is a completely desperate attack. I mean, there's nothing tacky about Catherine. And the point is, royalists are actually desperate, P. Dinah, to see her in these outfits, to see her wearing tiaras. The friends were making the point that she understands that even though that might not be comfortable for her, she understands why it's sometimes necessary for her to do that. And the Mail is trying to turn this into an attack. Well, this is an attack coming from Buckingham Palace, trust me, and I think it's so wrong.
This is insane. A palace civil war begins. Let's be absolutely clear from the start. What we're watching here is not routine palace gossip, this is the opening phase of a royal civil war. The claim being made is explosive, that King Charles and Queen Camilla are now actively briefing against Catherine, Princess of Wales, and by extension Prince William, using friendly media assets to do it. And the alleged trigger? A single magazine cover. That should terrify anyone who cares about the stability of the monarchy. Arise, Queen Kate, the cover that lit the fuse. The Times magazine cover praising Catherine wasn't scandalous. It wasn't inflammatory. It wasn't hostile. It was celebratory, and that's the real problem. Because Catherine didn't just return after cancer treatment. She returned stronger, more admired, more dominant in public affection than ever before. And according to this analysis, that spotlight has exposed something ugly at the heart of Buckingham Palace: envy. They didn't expect her to come back. This is where the commentary gets truly uncomfortable. There's a growing suggestion that some figures inside the palace quietly assumed Catherine would never return as a full-time royal. And if that's true, then her comeback isn't just inspiring, it's disruptive. Because it ruins long-term plans. It reshuffles power. And it reminds the public who the real future of the monarchy is. Catherine is an asset, not a threat. Here's the central accusation: Buckingham Palace is treating its biggest asset like an enemy. Instead of elevating Catherine, protecting her, and aligning behind her, the suggestion is that attack pieces are being encouraged. Narrative control is being attempted. And friendly journalists are being mobilized. That's not leadership. That's insecurity. The popularity gap that explains everything. Polling doesn't lie. Catherine's approval ratings are approaching Queen Elizabeth II levels. Camilla's approval sits barely above Prince Harry's. That reality alone explains the panic. This isn't about headlines. It's about comparisons. Charles and Camilla can't win. The Diana ghost still haunts this palace. Here's the brutal truth many refuse to say out loud. A significant section of the public has never emotionally forgiven Charles and Camilla for the Diana years. Catherine, by contrast, represents loyalty, discretion, marital stability, duty without drama. She is everything Diana was loved for, without the chaos. That comparison is devastating. William versus Charles, the real power struggle. This isn't just Catherine. Prince William is increasingly portrayed as impatient with Charles, frustrated by weakness over Harry, furious about delays over Andrew, and the most explosive claim of all. William reportedly believes Harry's actions directly worsened stress on Catherine, possibly contributing to her illness. If true, reconciliation is not just unlikely, it's impossible. You don't forgive that. Titles, punishment, and the Harry problem.
Yeah, they've been doing things like this. We've seen it's creeping up, and I think it is very wrong considering, what she's going through. I don't understand why you would want to attack someone that is upholding the work and the values of the institution so well. And to have things like this come out about her trying to undermine this woman. I mean, just think about how it chips away at her confidence, and it can even be affecting her and her health, the stress of it all. It really just seems so dysfunctional to me to have these things happen when you should be supporting her because there's a lot that she has to do. I mean, she still has young children. She's a woman trying to maintain her, her beauty, her standards, because that's always going to be criticized. I think as she ages, that's going to be something. I mean, people have been doing it before then, the trolls, the Megan trolls. So the last thing you need is to have within your home, within the institution, in the walls of which you are working, to have them attacking on you. That should be a place where you come and find solace and peace and support. It should not be a place where you have to also kind of fight these little passive aggressive attacks and wonder, well, who's doing this and who's doing that. It makes the work so much more difficult. And it also, I think, the people that are the anti-monarchists, I mean, you're giving them fuel. So enough with that. I just hope that when William takes the reign, and I can see this not being the case, this inner jealousy and problems within the inside of the palace, because it just is so unhealthy for this to happen. And she's such a sweet person. It's like, why you want to attack her, Catherine of all people? She does everything so well. Don't like it.
Totally. I mean, I guess if I can agree with one thing in the Amanda Platel piece, though, is that there is no comparison between the Beckhams and Catherine and William. And I think probably the person who made that comment, P. Diner, doesn't really know about the Beckhams. Like, I know the Beckhams now have a very positive public image. But if you look at Tom Bower's book, for example, and I respect his journalism, I respected his journalism on Meghan Markle. And I also covered the Beckhams myself for a very long time. I actually assisted in Tom Bower with some of the research for the book on the Beckhams. They did not have a happy marriage. And for a long time, they competed against each other in the marriage. And one of the best things about William and Catherine is that they don't do that. They love each other. They support each other. They boost each other. And Catherine P. Diner, and a lot of people don't like to hear this because it's almost going down the trad wife path, which I know is very political. But trust me, I know, because I know people who have had direct conversations with Catherine about this. She believes her husband should take the lead. She believes her husband should make the decisions. He is the future monarch. She appreciates what her role is. Her role is there to back him up. That's very different to the Beckhams, who for a long time had separate teams and they were competing against each other and there were battles over money and battles over social media. So actually, probably from a different point of view, I sort of agree that the comparison with the Beckhams is not an appropriate one, but not because it's tacky, but because William and Catherine don't have the same issues that the Beckhams have long had.
Yeah. The Beckhams, yeah, I didn't know much about them until following all this with Harry and Meghan. They do seem to have a good image now and seem very likable, but I can imagine during that time, yeah, because they're such strong characters, aren't they? I mean, these are powerhouse couples. I mean, they are so like together and in their businesses and the work that they do that I can imagine that being a very strong point of contention within their marriage. But yeah, right now, when you look at, William and Catherine, their work is aligned in purpose, and Beckham's wasn't at the time, but now I think they've built something and overcome a lot of that, I think now. And they're doing quite well as a couple because that is their brand. That's what makes them really strong. But maybe it strengthened their marriage. I don't know. Maybe it strengthened the Beckham's marriage, all the things that they were doing in the past.
There is absolutely a war, though, at the moment, P. Diner, on William and Catherine. It's all over the mainstream media in the UK. Did you see this from Peter Hunt, the former BBC royal correspondent, who actually was one of the people granted an early interview with Prince William, who now has written for the I newspaper saying William has control of the media. Here's what's being hidden from us. And he wrote, William has won. His victory over the media is unremarked upon by those he has vanquished. They are settled into their chosen role of offering up largely unchallenging coverage of the king in waiting. And they say that after a blip a decade ago when he was briefly nicknamed Workshire Will by the tabloids, he now basks in a level of benign attention rarely afforded to public figures. They say it's all about the fact that he freezes people out, and so as a result, there aren't difficult questions asked about royal finances. He goes on to say there is much that has gone unspoken where William is concerned, not least when it comes to Prince Harry. A silent older brother has relied on sources to brief his side of the Calvinist divide. He's been helped by the media, which in large part has cast Harry as the guilty person and portrayed William as wounded and above reproach. The truth, as always, is more nuanced. And Peter, I actually thought that was where Peter Hunt exposed himself, because of course it's fair enough to criticise the Royal Rota and the British mainstream media. I criticize the Royal Rota in the British mainstream media all the time. I do think very often they cover stories up. I think they do. But I don't think that is something that specifically applies to William. I think they're covering stories up for the King. I think they're covering stories up for Camilla. I just think that the Royal Rota are not prepared to write the truth. And that's one of the reasons why when I was working in the mainstream media, I was very proud of the fact that I was never part of the Royal Rota, because it meant that I was able to write the true story, what was really going on in the British royal family, rather than what the PR messaging was. But to say that William has acted in the wrong way when it comes to Harry, come on. Like, Harry threw everything at William. In Spare, on Netflix, in constant interviews with everyone from Tom Bradby in the UK to Anderson Cooper in the US. And you're attacking William for addressing a few of those issues via sources. I mean, come on, P. Dinah, there was so much more Prince William and Catherine and his friends could have said. So I believe Peter Hunt, not surprising given he was a BBC correspondent, is just a propagandist for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And this attack on William is about trying to rewrite history when it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Yeah, trying to create a villain in William, and I think that's what they have to do to sell their papers. They have to try to, bring out some negativity and make something there that's not really there. I think William, he's going to have a lot of people come at him, and he just has to maintain what he's doing, having that silent dignity and rising above it. But it's really shameful, because I wouldn't put it past Harry and Meghan to be behind that, because that's what they do. And, you have to be very careful when you're someone who has this, this role as the future king coming. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to try to undermine you and do things, or to try to befriend you in certain ways. There's just so much sneaky playing going on behind the scenes, and you just never know who you can trust. And I think he is getting a bad rap. People are trying to create problems for him, and he doesn't deserve it. I think Catherine is so well aligned with, William. They're so like-minded in how they do their work, and they have to really find a way deep down inside to rise above all the things that people are going to be saying about them that aren't true. And if he has to, have a little source here and there to get out some things that, hey, I'm looking the other way, because I support him. I support William and Catherine, and, they deserve to be able to do, what they can in terms of the media, because, they're always hounded by the media with everything. They should have a little bit of grace to be able to have some things, or sources say some things for them. But I just think it's just so unfortunate that happens to such good people. But I think at the end of the day, the decision that happens with Harry is going to be something that is going to really be something to affect the monarchy, whatever is decided. Because how you allow Harry back, or to have Harry be, somewhere in the background with that little conniving snake behind him, his wife, is going to make a big impact on the monarchy. And that's what you really have to look out for, because that is just disaster waiting to happen with inside the royal family, depending on how they address that situation.
P. Dinah, so brilliantly put as ever, and this is why you've got to subscribe to P. Dinah, P-D-I-N-A, on YouTube for this incredible stateside royal analysis. But it is so brilliant to have you as part of Outspoken again in 2026. Happy New Year, P. Dinah, and
Happy New
we
Year.
will speak next week. Thank you so much.
William's alleged position is ruthless but logical. Remove Harry's titles. Strip Archie and Lilibet of royal status. End the mess for future generations. Charles, meanwhile, is accused of letting emotion override judgment. And that divide is now public. Charles is jealous of Catherine, not Camilla. This is one of the most incendiary claims. That Charles himself is threatened by Catherine's popularity. Not Camilla. Not Harry. Not Meghan. Catherine. If true, that would repeat the same catastrophic error he made with Diana. The Daily Mail as a palace weapon. Here's where the media machine comes into focus. The argument is that palace courtiers still influence certain outlets. Former editors now work directly for Charles. And negative framing doesn't happen accidentally. The Amanda Platell piece warning Catherine to be careful is framed as a warning shot, not journalism. The Beckhams comparison, a cheap shot. Comparing William and Catherine to the Beckhams isn't just wrong, it's insulting. Because unlike celebrity power couples, William and Catherine don't compete. They don't brand themselves. They don't leak. Their strength is unity, and that's precisely why they're dangerous to insecure courtiers. Undermining Catherine during illness is indefensible. This may be the most damning section of all. Attacking Catherine while recovering from cancer, raising young children, carrying the future of the crown, is not just bad politics. It's morally bankrupt. And worse, it hands ammunition to anti-monarchists. The media war against William. The claim that William controls the media is dismissed here as historical revisionism. Harry went nuclear. Netflix. Spare. Oprah. US interviews. William stayed silent. And now silence is being reframed as manipulation. That's not journalism, that's spin. Harry is the unresolved nuclear threat. The final warning is stark. If Harry is allowed back in any meaningful capacity with Meghan behind him, it risks institutional chaos, internal sabotage, and long-term damage to the monarchy. This isn't personal anymore. It's structural. Now your turn, and don't hold back. Do you believe Buckingham Palace is briefing against Catherine? King Charles is repeating the Diana mistake? William is right to draw a hard line on Harry? Comment below, whose side are you on? Like if Catherine is the monarchy's greatest asset. Share if this internal war needs exposure. Subscribe for fearless royal commentary the mainstream won't give you.